tenemos un tema que genera polémica. ¿Vacunas sí o vacunas no?
Del Garraham, que lea por favor la comunicación del doctor Andrew Zimmerman. Él ha sido perito de parte del gobierno de Estados Unidos en defensa de las vacunaciones y acaba de publicar que él admite que las vacunas producen autismo.
Perfecto.
No es el único factor. Ojo, yo no estoy diciendo que lo único que produce autismo son las vacunas. Hay otros múltiples factores de tipo tóxico, como pueden ser los agrotóxicos, y también hay, digamos así, predisposiciones genéticas que favorecen, ya sea por las vacunas o por los agrotóxicos, que desarrollen problemas de lo que se llama ahora trastornos del espectro autismo, sobre todo el autismo regresivo, porque si ustedes ven los videos de chicos que eran absolutamente normales en cuanto a su comportamiento, sociabilización y lenguaje, van a ver que después de una vacuna, sobre todo en la MMR, comienza lo que se llama una regresión autista. El chico deja de comunicarse, deja de mirar y deja el lenguaje que había incorporado. Eso se llama autismo regresivo y se ve vinculado con las vacunas, sobre todo la MMR.
Today we investigate one of the biggest medical controversies of our time, vaccines. A special federal vaccine court has paid out billions for injuries from brain damage to death. Now we have remarkable new information. A respected pro-vaccine medical expert used by the federal government to debunk the vaccine autism link says vaccines can cause autism after all. He claims he told that to government officials long ago, but they kept it secret.
This man, Dr. Andrew Zimmerman, a world-renowned pediatric neurologist, shown here at a lecture. Dr. Zimmerman was the government's top expert witness and had testified that vaccines didn't cause autism. The debate was declared over.
But now Dr. Zimmerman has provided remarkable new information. He claims that during the vaccine court hearings all those years ago, he privately told government lawyers that vaccines can and did cause autism in some children. That turnabout from the government's own chief medical expert stood to change everything about the vaccine autism debate, if the public were to find out.
This was one of the most consequential frauds, arguably in human history.
Kennedy was instrumental in convincing Dr. Zimmerman to document his remarkable claim of the government covering up his true expert opinion on vaccines and autism. Dr. Zimmerman declined our interview request and referred us to his sworn affidavit. It says on June 15, 2007, he took aside the Department of Justice, or DOJ lawyers he worked for, defending vaccines in vaccine court. He told them that he discovered exceptions in which vaccinations could cause autism. Meantime, CDC, which promotes vaccines and monitors vaccine safety, never disclosed that the government's own one-time medical expert concluded vaccines can cause autism.
Everybody takes money from pharma, so they've all been corrupted, and it's almost impossible to get anything done on Capitol Hill.
Kennedy, a Democrat, isn't the only one claiming vaccine industry money rules the day. We spoke to 11 current and former members of Congress and staff who claimed they faced pressure, bullying, or threats when they raised vaccine safety questions.
There's no question in my mind whatsoever that the pharmaceutical industry had a great influence with people over at the CDC and FDA.
Former Congressman Dr. Dave Weldon, a Republican, says he got the message loud and clear.
If you would want to hold a hearing on an issue like vaccines and autism, your own leadership might fight you on that because of the financial influence the pharmaceutical industry
No, they wouldn't
has?
fight you. They would kill it. It's dead. They don't even want to discuss it. It's dead on arrival. If you as an individual member want to take on the pharmaceutical industries, it's forget it.
Can you describe an incident or just how that would go?
It would typically be in a hallway or on the street, and people would come up to you and say, you really need to, back off on this. It could be bad for the community or bad for the country or bad for you. Some children can get an autism spectrum disorder from a vaccine.
Republican Bill Posey is a current member of Congress.
I don't have to tell you that that industry is a very, very powerful industry. Matter of fact, I don't know of anyone more powerful than that industry.
Meantime, Dr. Zimmerman, the one-time expert used to debunk vaccine autism claims, now says several of his own patients got autism from vaccines.
Y lo que hay que decir es cómo nació esto, que en realidad un médico inglés quiso vender hace algunos años atrás otra vacuna triple viral, un negocio de 120 millones de euros. ¿Y qué hizo? Inventó una investigación falsa que lamentablemente publicó la revista más prestigiosa en medicina, que se llama The Lancet.
Yo simplemente lo que pienso como médico, que debe respetarse el consentimiento informado frente a un procedimiento médico, como es el de las vacunas, que tiene elementos inmunotóxicos, como tienen mercurio, tienen aluminio, tienen polisorbato, formaldehído, tienen células humanas de animales y demás. Y es un procedimiento médico que no tiene estudios realizados, por ejemplo, contra placebo inerte, tampoco tiene estudios. Si ustedes ven los prospectos van a ver que en el punto 13.1 de las vacunas, de los prospectos, dice que no tiene estudios sobre la acción, sobre la genética humana, tampoco tiene estudios sobre la fertilidad, ni tampoco sobre la producción de cánceres. De hecho, dentro de las vacunas se han encontrado virus que son oncogénicos, productores de tumores, como el SB40 y como es el retrovirus de leucemia murina, o sea, del ratón. Lo que dice el doctor es un fraude. Lo que acaba de afirmar es un fraude científico. No es verdad que el doctor Andrew Wakefield haya hecho ningún estudio de tipo fraudulento. Todo lo contrario. Le voy a explicar.
A ver.
Si me permite.
Sí, por supuesto.
Aparte del Lancet, sí, exacto, perfecto. Le agradezco que me deje hablar porque generalmente no me dejan hablar.
No, por favor.
El Lancet, es cierto, se publicó el artículo ese de Wakefield y después se publicó en el 2004 en el Pediatra, que ahí se confundió el doctor. En el 2004 se publicó un artículo del CDC que hizo una investigación en niños de menos de 36 meses de edad, sobre todo afroamericanos, donde figuraba en ese artículo publicado que la vacuna no tenía absolutamente nada que ver con el autismo. Sin embargo, el doctor William Thompson, jefe de investigadores del CDC, Centro de Prevención de Enfermedades de Estados Unidos, que es quien publicó este artículo, admitió que habían cometido fraude y que en realidad sí, la vacuna MMR, sarampión, papera, rubiola, estaba vinculada con el autismo y que a cuanto menor edad se aplicaba la vacuna, mayor era el riesgo.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, for 5 minutes.
It's troubling to me that in a recent Senate hearing on childhood vaccinations, it was never mentioned that our government has paid out over $3 billion through a vaccine injury compensation program for children who have been injured by vaccinations. In August 2014, Dr. William Thompson, a senior scientist at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, worked with a whistleblower attorney to provide my office with documents related to a 2004 CDC study that examined the possibility of a relationship between mumps, measles, rubella vaccines, and autism. In a statement released in August 2014, Dr. Thompson stated, "I regret that my co-authors and I omitted statistically significant information in our 2004 article published in the Journal of Pediatrics. We decided to exclude reporting any race effects. The co-authors scheduled a meeting to destroy documents related to the study. The remaining 4 co-authors all met and brought a big garbage can into the meeting room and reviewed and went through all the hard copy documents that we had thought we should discard and put them in a huge garbage can. However, because I assumed it was illegal and would violate both FOIA and DOJ requests, I kept hard copies of all documents in my office, and I retained all associated computer files. I believe we intentionally withheld controversial findings from the final draft of the pediatrics paper." End of quote of the doctor.
Entonces, si ustedes ven el prospecto de la vacuna de Sanofi Pasteur, de difteria, tétanos y acelular pertussis, dentro del mismo prospecto dice que puede producir autismo.
Voy a dar un dato para contrastar lo que está diciendo el doctor.
A ver, vamos de a uno.
En
Sí, doctor.
1963 no existía la vacuna, se morían de sarampión 2.600.000 chicos por año en el mundo.
Comes straight from the Food and Drug Administration. These are the actual trials that approved the MMR vaccine. Gastrointestinal illness is the complaint of the autism community. Somehow these two are connected. Well, guess what? They looked at that in the MMR2 trials in 1978. This is the first of the studies. 199 children in this study. 199 children in a study for a vaccine that's going to be given to millions, hundreds of millions of children around the world? No, it's not. 199 children. Now look at this. Of those 199 children, gastrointestinal illness, they looked at it. They had a category. And here's what they found. Gastrointestinal illness over the course of 42 days, by the way. I've told you that drugs are going through safety studies for 5 years, 10 years, 42 days. That's the maximum amount any of these studies go through. And here's what we found when we compared the MMR. Gastrointestinal illness. 22 children in this study had a gastrointestinal illness out of 199. That's 10%. Not 1 in a million, 10% got a gastrointestinal illness. Look at this list. Upper respiratory illness. How many times are we being told, well, even if the vaccine doesn't work, it helps with upper respiratory health? Really? Because this vaccine looks like it caused 23 cases of upper respiratory illness out of 199 children. Okay, let's look at the next study. Here's number 2 in the 3 they chose. Now this time they have a whopping 102 total children in this very important study. Now look at this. Upper respiratory illness, 64. 64 out of 102 children, more than half, moving towards 2/3. Some of these kids are sick for all 42 days. That's the only way these numbers stay at 64. So these are really sick kids. Gastrointestinal illness, the heart and problem of autism. Look at in this group, 43 children had a gastrointestinal illness within 42 days out of 102 children. And if you think somehow I'm overstating, this is what they wrote in their report. Upper respiratory and gastrointestinal infections were reported in about 55% and 40% of vaccinees, respectively.
Permítame preguntarle al doctor si la responsabilidad es muy claramente colectiva. La importancia no es vacunar a un niño solamente, dicen los especialistas, sino al colectivo, porque si no, no tiene sentido solo un niño vacunado.
Nosotros lo llamamos efecto rebaño. Cuando uno vacuna una población y la cobertura de la vacuna llega a un gran porcentaje, el virus no puede circular. O presentan un certificado falso diciendo que el chico es alérgico.
Dr. Hooker mentioned the Harvard mumps outbreak of 2016, which was actually in a fully vaccinated college population, according to the Public Health Department in Cambridge. In recent years, we've also seen mumps outbreaks in 100% vaccinated populations like the University of Richmond, Loyola University, and Fordham University. Interestingly, in 2010, Merck was sued for selling a vaccine that actually caused mumps and measles outbreaks.
Nosotros, cuando estudiamos medicina, la medicina es una ciencia médica. Hacemos ciencia y nos basamos en estudios científicos. En estudios científicos validados, por supuesto, por instituciones nacionales e internacionales.
I came to the New England Journal of Medicine in 1979. Starting about then was when you saw the drug companies assert more and more control. Until finally, over the next couple of decades, they began to treat the researchers as hired hands. They would design the research themselves. You know, you can do a lot of mischief in how you design a trial. Or we'll test this drug and we'll tell you whether it can be published or not. And so if it's a positive study, it's published. If it's a negative study, you never see the light of day.
The current editor-in-chief of the British journal Lancet, Dr. Richard Horton, wrote a scathing editorial saying much of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may simply be untrue. Science has taken a turn towards darkness. Dr. Eric Pullman got $2.9 million in federal grants and published hundreds of medical articles on obesity and menopause before he got caught fabricating data while at the University of Vermont School of Medicine. In 2005, he became the first academic researcher sentenced to prison for fraudulent studies. From 1992 to 2012, taxpayers shelled out $58 million to scientists whose papers were later retracted due to misconduct. Today, Angel is at Harvard Medical School. She says experience has taught her to question nearly all the studies she reads in medical journals or hears about on the news.
Esto es como discutir si usamos o no usamos cinturón de seguridad. No es discutible.